Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Ray Bradbury's Home to Stay, the complete Ray Bradbury EC stories. This is a huge volume. You can see the size there. It is very, very large and actually quite hefty as well. It's a real nice quality finish. You can see the way it glistens there. I just think it's just really great. And you can see all the artists there featuring art by, and you can see the long list of superb artists. It's got a lot of highlights, as it says there in the back. Also, it's got introductions, essays, and a lot more. I'm just going to go through it. It is brilliant. Absolutely. Now, I always thought that the Russ Cochrane series was probably going to be the ultimate. Of course, there's the first artisan editions and artist editions, which I think are pretty up there as well. But here is a copy of the Russ Cochrane one. You can see it's actually bigger. It's bigger. The new one is actually a lot bigger. You can see the size difference there. And also, of course, obviously, there's no point comparing because, of course, there was no, this is not the Russ Cochrane, but it's got a couple of stories, of course, overlap. It's in black and white. And this book is in black and white as well, in most cases. There's a few bits in colour, but most of it is in black and white. You can see here, obviously, that's the colour bit, but predominantly black and white. If you're expecting colour, it's not going to be in colour. But this is from Fantagraphics. And I was expecting, when I saw it first listed, I thought it was going to be a sort of one of these sort of very small books, which I really love that series. I've thoroughly enjoyed most of them, not all. Some of I'm not so keen on, but this is near enough in the way that you think, I wish they'd gone for this format right from the start. A couple of 3 or 4 volumes, I would have loved to have seen this sort of throughout the whole series, but that wasn't the case. And so you got that, Home to Stay, and you can see it smacks of quality all the way through. You got the standard way they do it, the table of contents. I always love table of contents, and it's really good because I've actually got numbering as well. Quite often you get nowadays table of contents, and you don't get to see the index, but the pages themselves are not actually numbered, so I don't see the point. But in this case, they are actually numbered, which is great. You've got a complete list there. It also gives obviously the date and all the various information, based on the flying machine, the Golden Apples of the Sun, 1953. So it gives you the details of the Ray Bradbury story as well, which is, of course, great, based on the Changelings, Science Stories of July 1949, etc. Actually, that would have been really nice if they had done maybe loads of pictures of covers. There is a really good Ray Bradbury book that's brilliant with all the covers of Ray Bradbury, worth checking out. I don't know if I've ever done a book review of that, but it's one of the best. I love that book. But here, Knowing Ray, so you've got some great little articles right at the start. You've got other introductions here. Love and Theft, when Ray met Bill and Al. Really, and it's very nice quality. You can easily read this. It's not small print. This is really large print. It's got a few examples, of course, and all the way through. And they've broken it down, apparently, by the original books that were done with Ray Bradbury. You've got here Dark Carnival. So it's quite nice the way they've done them as well. So stories from Dark Carnival. And you've got here The Lake. And you can just see this is just... And it is, even with this weird fantasy one, it's the pages themselves in here are just about ½ an inch, slightly bigger. So you can actually, when you compare the two, you can just see the... I think that's just great. But that's why I'm a bit, what's the name with the artwork. When you look at it, some of the lines are just slightly different. Very subtle. They haven't obviously changed them, but of course when you've sort of resized it, and I assume the source material is the same, therefore I don't know where the source material is, but I would assume it's identical to this, since this was the definitive version, that it just seems to be just slightly, a few of them, you think slightly different thickness, just very subtle, but I think it's just great all the way through. The stories are brilliant. I mean, obviously you have to be a real purist to really get sort of that sort of, oh, I don't like it because of this. Quite often you see that you see panels of like Marvel ones when they've done, obviously recoloured them, changed to tweak things, and you look at the line, and sometimes it really is quite glaring. But in this case, very hard to tell. You'd have to be really looking under a microscope to really sort of think, oh, that's not the same. And you've got the stories. The stories, of course, are classic. You've got here Witch's Cauldron, The Handler. I love it. Called it Witch's Cauldron. It's actually The Handler. That's weird how that is so big. You just look at Witch's Cauldron. Oh, that's a title. No. Or is it? No, it's certainly it's called The Handler. The art is great. I'm not not a mega fan of every artist. I had to say some, and personally, I'm not a horror book fan so much in that I love some of the stories, quite a few of the stories, but I have to say I prefer the science fiction ones to the horror ones. But they're still absolutely superb, and it's the art. I mean, it's just now. If you don't like the glossy paper, you might think, oh, you know what? I prefer the Russ Cochran ones. Still, of course, this is more readily available. You can, of course, get the Russ Cochran ones, but some of these volumes, let's just quickly show you the box. Ooh, this one here, Weird Fantasy box, and of course I've got the fourth volume there, and these come for, well, go for a reasonable amount of money now. I don't know, sometimes 100, 200. Of course, you could be very lucky, go to a comic mart and you can find them, and it's on the table £50 or something or less, and you think, oh, I'll have that box. That would be, and I've done that a few times when I've seen them. I think yes, and I'm just gonna. Now, I, of course, will not find the story that I want to compare, so it's virtually impossible. But it's got loads of great stories all the way through this, and this is just solid, just a solid book with just classic stories. I mean, look at that. Really, really super sharp. Brilliant, brilliant. Long years. And I know I'm not going to find one. I've actually made a bookmark. I should have put a bookmark here so I knew exactly the page that I was going to. Oh, here it is. The Million Year Picnic. So this is the page I want to compare. So you've got, here's the story, obviously in this big, lovely, new super duper version. And I just think it just looks first rate. Well, if I go to this one, this is the Russ Cochran version, and I've actually got that page. I hope I don't. And you can see the difference. Obviously, my one's slightly browner now because, of course, it's Asia. But you can see it is slightly smaller. But the line, I think the line is slightly sharper. You know, really crisp, the line in this. You can really look at it. And if you look at it in this one, just subtly different. Very, very subtle. I'm certain that, you know, you'd have to really be pernickety to actually pick out. But I think it's just, this is glorious. And for me, these Russ Cochran ones are just absolute, will still always be the best. But this, I definitely think is certainly good. So please put in the comments below. Maybe you'll turn around and say, no, that's not the best version. Definitely Russ Cochran, or this version, or the artist edition, etc. is better. Everyone will have their own choices, of course, which one they like. But it's just beautiful. I just still think it's just great to have all these Ray Bradbury. And I love Ray Bradbury. I've got the complete Ray Bradbury stories, and I love looking through those. They're just great to pick up. They're always beautiful. He was such a great writer. One of the best. I love his work. The Sound of Thunder. Just Time Safari. I love that bit. And again, also apparently they've adapted from a story by Ray Bradbury. Apparently they added, I don't know. I wouldn't have noticed, but apparently that's one of the things they've added that bit with. In some, apparently it was removed or something. I'm not certain. I can't compare. Now this story is one of my favourite. The Executioner one, The Flying Machine. I think it's always quite a fascinating little story. It's just adapted from it. Obviously, this guy makes an invention, and of course the Emperor. Oh, that's just great. Absolutely classic. I've just told you, etc. What have you done? And it's fascinating. Still, don't want to spoil. And let's just get all the way through to the back, because I've shown obviously a few examples there. You've got another example there. I don't want to show that. The Screaming Woman. So that's. Oh, no, I'm just going to drop it. Don't want to drop it. It's not the cheapest of books, not compared with obviously the smaller ones, but that's why I was surprised. When it was first announced, I thought, because it didn't give any detail. I was thinking, is it going to be the same size as the other ones, maybe slightly thicker? But when this came, I thought, wow, I can see why a lot of people have said, you know, that's why I thought, oh, I must get that. Even though I've got quite a lot of. I haven't got all the horror ones, because I've never purchased all the big box sets of the horror. They're so expensive, sometimes £400, £500. You've got here, this goes all the way through, and then you've got Ray Bradbury, obviously at the back there. Lovely old picture there, Ray Bradbury. I didn't have 2,000 thinking money. So you've got Ray Bradbury there, you've got a letter, Ray Bradbury, Ray and the Pulps. That would have been a nice thing as well if they'd included maybe all the covers of all the pulp magazines that included them. They didn't do that, but it would have been all the Weird Tales, all the various Astounding, Super Science, whatever, magazines. Ray and the Readers, right? Another essay. So there's a lot of essays. I love books with essays. One thing that always is great, just fascinating reading. And you learn so much about this, you know, behind what was going on with various things. Brilliant. It's got another one here. Oh, also it includes, when I say colour, that's why I mentioned that this is really the colour bit, where you've actually got the black and white, but of course it's colour pages. They've actually scanned it, obviously the original artwork, and I think this is one that's apparently not included in the artisan edition. So it's really nice to see the long years. Just brilliant. Beautiful, beautiful. I love original art pages. Original art pages are always fascinating to see. So that's great. And also it includes some cover art as well. Let's just get to the next section. You've got these cover ones. Though you really can see the way that the materials, this is obviously not, it's been scanned in, and you can really see the grain kicking in there. Obviously when it comes to this size, especially this one as well, you can see this one. Very unusual, that, but still. And likewise with these cover art, the cover arts are great. I still love them. It's not saying that it's not great, but you can really see it's a bit sort of, yeah, but I love it. I'm glad they've included them. I wish they'd include a lot more. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be like other people's interpretation sort of thing, but it wasn't. This is actually just, this is one's 2002, completed March 2002. When was this one? 1974, Marie Severin. That's lovely. Obviously, their Frank Frazetta one, absolutely great. And also you've got the artist's biographies, which is always great to see as well. You've got there, obviously Ray Douglas Bradbury, 1920, 2012. And I never realised that. That's 10 years ago now. Wow. I guess so. It just seems, that's a bit of a gruesome one on the back page. Just turning. And also it's got Marie Severin. It's the thing that's always depressing, of course, is the fact that just mentioned 2012. You think 2012 there for John Severin. Marie Severin died in 2018. And I think the only one here is Angelo Torres. That's it. I think all the rest seem to have died. And that's so sad. Still, I suppose, of course, the EC comics were 1950s, weren't they? And also it's got the Fantagraphics EC library at the back, and which is quite nice. You've got the comics journal. I haven't bought any of those. I know they look very good, and I have picked them up occasionally. I think, should I buy that? I'm not a completist to the point of getting those ones, though. The Life and Legend of Wallace Wood, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I can't say I've seen it. My favourite one is the Wally Wood one that was the Spanish catalogue called Exhibition one. I love that one. That is about this sort of size as well. Maybe slightly thicker as well. That's a thick, chunky volume. Really love that one. But this is just a superb, superb book. Really, really great. I'm really glad I bought it, even if I have got a lot of the stories, obviously slightly in this form, of course, but probably a few stories. I've always wondered whether I should go through all my EC things, tick them off to see if I've actually got all the stories now. I don't know, because I've got them in different forms. So it's I might have them all now. I don't think I have. I'm bound to have a few missing over the years. But still, this is a brilliant volume. Definitely, if you're an EC Comics fan, I think you're going to have to buy it, especially if you're a Ray Bradbury fan as well. This is definitely worth getting. Totally, totally recommended book.